Diana Mile. I have been a patient with Dr. Mohrdar for the last 4 years, and prior to that had been sick for about 5 years. And during that time had been so sick that it interrupted my life. I was a young woman, 29 years old, and unable to take care of my children or take care of my home or to enjoy my life. During that time, I went to doctors in the entire region where I lived. I looked for help through their tests, through their hospitals, through multiple prescriptions, only to find that not only could I not get a diagnosis, but I couldn't get help. And so some of the things that I tried actually hurt me more than they helped me. When I first realized I was sick, I became very scared, and I started calling my doctors and asking them if they could help me. The answer that I received most of the time was that it was in my head and that I wasn't truly sick. They ran tests on me to test my nervous system, to test my digestive system, to test my, everything that they could think of. I had gained 7 inches around my waist in a matter of about 3 weeks. I was sleeping 20 hours a day. I had very little control over my waking and sleeping, and I couldn't make myself concentrate. I forgot how to do simple things, such as simple math or writing, and I had very intense psychological disturbances. I was sad and depressed.
Was that because of your disease, and not because of the medication?
Right.
The disease?
The disease.
Okay.
The disease had done those things to me. And so when I would see my doctor and explain these symptoms, they were very vague, and they covered so many different areas that they couldn't determine what was causing it. So I did CAT scans and MRIs and multiple tests for my digestive system. They thought possibly I had tumors in my digestive tract. They also thought that I had multiple sclerosis. They tested me for so many things it's hard to remember what they all were. But each of these tests involved weeks and weeks and weeks, and so I spent 8 months having testing done with no result. And the only thing that they had to offer me at that time were antidepressants. And so I took them out of desperation because I did want to feel better. And I tried to follow everything that they told me to do, but I continued to get sicker. And over a course of the 5 years, had gotten to the point where it hurt to stand. I couldn't lift my arms. I couldn't keep my hands straight without them curling from the pain. I could no longer stand to be on my feet for more than a few minutes at a time because the pain was so intense. And I had gained 60 pounds, and my quality of life was very, very low. And that led to so much depression and difficulty to see anything in my future. And at the time I had 3 small children. And so it was very, very hard to take the doctor's advice when they were continuing to give me painkillers. I had by that time been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, Epstein-Barr virus, parvovirus, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and those are the only ones I can think of right now. But it was a long laundry list of diseases, and the only treatment for those was prednisone, Vicodin, Bextra, Vioxx, multiple drugs, Plaquenil, all of these things to help me deal with the chronic fever and all the pain and the fatigue. It was similar to having the flu every day. And I had finally gotten to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. I was beginning to get inflammation in my spinal cord and migraine headaches, meningitis-like symptoms, rashes, so many things that I wrote a letter in desperation to friends around the country and asked them if they had heard of any way for me to be able to be helped. At this time I lived in Ohio, in the Cleveland area, and one friend had happened to live in Southern California for a while and knew of Dr. Mohrdar. He had helped her with a very difficult illness that was hard to find, hard to diagnose, and she felt that if he could help her, that he could probably help me. And so she gave me his phone number, and I kept it for a couple of months, and I was too afraid to call and too afraid to think of another rejection or another disappointment. So Finally, I had a bout with some type of a virus that was worse than anything I'd ever had. And I realized if I don't do something soon, I may not live much longer. So we called and we came out, and that was 4 years ago. And within a very short time, I saw incredible relief. I do have an autoimmune disease that is not treatable with prescription medication. It does only get worse as time goes on. But because of Dr. Mohrdar's ability to get to the root of the problem, find and identify all the allergies that had developed in my body, and treat them, and give me a very specific course of instructions, and I follow them, and I'm well. I do find that if I decide not to follow them, that I get sick. So he's right on target every time. It's very clear to me that he understands the way my body works, and has been able to give me very clear instructions, and the quality of my life is now much better than it has been in over 10 years. And I would say it's better than it was before I was very, very sick. I have more health, more energy, and more ability to continue to get better, and more optimism about how my body will continue to function. So I talk to people frequently about how Dr. Mohrdar has been able to look inside my body and find what it is that is actually wrong. Not what my symptoms are, because they were so many you couldn't name them. Not what I wanted to get rid of, because that wouldn't fix the problem. But to see in the root what was wrong with my body, and be able to start from the inside out and make me well. And I've seen now that we've known him for 4 years, we've recommended dozens of people here, and I get calls all the time that they have come to see him from California, from Ohio, from Minnesota. I'm trying to think, there are probably other states, but people that we've known are for years who have decided to come, and they call me later and tell me that that's what it was, that they just needed to find the person who could help them find the root of their problem, and they're grateful and happy and doing much, much better. So that's been our experience.